Hi, I'm Shivam,
Hi, I'm Izzy,
and this is PhoenixChat.
where one of us can read.
Which one?
You
You find
find
out.
out.
Oh man. So, first of all, welcome back to PhoenixChat. Thank you guys so much for listening. And is everyone ready to get on their togas and break out a glass of wine? Because we are talking about Theros. First
Hell
things first.
yes!
Oh man, so Izzy, you want to explain the premise of Theros?
Take Greek mythology, Magic the Gathering, and Dungeons and Dragons, and mix that shit together. You have Theros.
Mm-hmm.
That's the
Yeah.
best explanation I can have.
Mm-hmm. So, both of us got invited to a campaign that was using the source book for Theros and the campaign guide for it, and both of us are really excited for it because we're both huge Percy Jackson fans and
Hades fans.
religiously playing Hades. So, oh my god, I am so excited for this, and just the campaign book is so cool. So do you want to talk about the god system in Theros?
Okay, so let me pull up my handy dandy Internet Explorer tab.
Mm-hmm.
So we have the Elder God Crufix? Yes. Basically he's the god of horizons, and the unknown. And, it's hard to describe what these things look like because it's a body of stars and, 4 arms. I'm not sure how to compare this to actual Greek gods, to be completely honest. It's just he's chilling. He's just a huge star thing. But he's not like Nyx, goddess of the night or anything. He's just this big dude. We also got Helioid. He is the god of the sun, law, justice, retribution, and bonds of kinship. So kinda like Apollo, but more like if Apollo had more sense of justice in the world, that would be Apollo. That is Heliod.
Yeah, no, but I just really enjoy the gods are kind of you can see that the inspiration comes from with Helioid and Erebos being the god of the dead, for example. But they're really kind of creating their own lore with it.
Yeah.
Which is super duper cool to me.
Mm-hmm. I'm just comparing it to actual Greek gods, so that way it makes sense in my head who they are in comparison. Because this is a brand new world to me, because I'm I don't know what these are, but okay, they're just big dudes. So Erebos is the god of the dead, misfortune, ill fate, yeah, envy, bitterness, all the, bad things. So, kind of like Hades. Nylea? I hope I'm saying these right. Nylea, I don't know. Goddess of the hunt, seasons, forest, hunger, metamorphosis, rebirth. So, Artemis, kind of, sort of. Kind of like a mix of Artemis and Demeter, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think my other favorite mechanic about Theros then is that much like the Greek legends and myths, the gods are very involved in the mortals' lives.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a little piety system in there where basically you select one of these gods that Izzy just kind of talked about, and you effectively are you show your devotion to them by doing certain things in their name. So do you want to talk about one of the gods and what you can do to gain devotion with them?
Yeah. So okay, for example, let's say Heliod. He basically his temples are places of charity and public service, and his name is invoked in matters of morality and legality. So I feel if you are doing something which you think is for good cause, for the public and whatnot, that I think that gains his favor for you. Something like that. He's very kind of the police of gods, I guess.
Yeah. and depends on like it varies from like god to god. So like Helioid is very much like a lawful kind of god. But like for example, Mogus is like the god of like war. And so like you can gain like piety by like taking vengeance against people or like burning places to the ground.
Oh yeah.
There's also like some fun things too where like your piety scores can diminish if you do things that are like not in your like god's favor. So if you like for Mogus, it's like failing to carry out sworn vendettas or rejecting a duel or challenge out of fear. And I think that's super cool because like you select one of these gods and you can like build a character around like the idea of like worshipping them and why your character has decided to worship this god above like all others. And the best part is if you keep like doing these things like roleplay, there's like actual game mechanics that reward you for that. So every time you basically complete a session in Theros and you like completed your god's favor in some way, shape, or form, you gain like a piety point. And as you keep like gaining these piety points, you can gain like things like extra spells, or you gain like immunity to being frightened, all the way over to like getting 50 piety points. You can basically increase one of two stats on your sheet just by like 2, which is so cool to me. Yeah. Izzy, do you want to talk about then like, so both of us built characters for the Theros campaign. Do you want to talk about why you picked the god you did and what your god's all about?
Okay, so I made a fish. I love her. So basically, how I make characters more so, yes, I look at the gods and kind of see, okay, what can I work with? And then I look at what races, because this certain campaign can only allow certain races, like based on where this is. So I was like, ooh, that's interesting. So I believe it's humans, Leonin, like lion people, basically. Yeah. Minotaurs, centaurs, satyrs, and tritons. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm being a fish. Absolutely. Which Shivam didn't realize when I drew her. She has fish nets because she is a fish. And it's funny.
I'm dumb.
It's hilarious. Okay, anyway, I decided to choose Kuranos?
Yeah, something like that.
God of the Storms, okay? Because I was like, oh, dude, fish, lightning. And then one of my coworkers was like, oh, she's a fried fish. Okay, I get it. That's funny, but not funny to me. Stop. So basically, he is, I'm reading based off of this thing. It's Storms, Epiphanies, Quiet Insight, and Careless Destruction. So he is known for blasting mortals with insights and lightning bolts in equal measure. So I thought it would be really funny, because at first I wanted her to be like maybe a rogue, and I play rogue a lot, so I really like rogues. But I'm like, maybe I should try something else. And I was like, one of the things for Kuranos is you can be struck by lightning, and I'm like, oh, she's gonna get struck by lightning and get powers and be a sorcerer. Oh. I'm very excited. And I have a brother who one of our friends is also playing, and he's the angsty boy, and I'm like the bubbly one. And it's gonna be, and it's weird because I get to be the brains of the group. I'm so scared. I'm normally the creative, like, oh, let's go and do this right now, and everyone's like, no, why? So now I'm like, oh, I have to be the no why? Okay.
Yeah. Oh my god. It should be fun. Yeah. No.
So what did you make?
So, of course, like, we're both just, like, Hades simps.
Absolutely.
So I immediately, like, where's the death gods at? Where are my death gods at? And so I immediately was just like, Athreos is super fucking cool, hell yeah. I basically decided to, build a soldier, and he's based on the idea of the real life historical Band of Thebes. So basically, and this was a real thing in history, 150 pairs of gay men basically enlisted into this army, and they were like this elite fighting force because like they were fighting by their lover, and so like they couldn't show dishonor besides like the man they loved. So my character was a soldier who like had a boyfriend. And they both kind of expected that they would like die honorably in combat and be brought to Elysium, which is like the good place of the underworld. However, his boyfriend ended up dying and was brought to a different part of the underworld that isn't Elysium. So basically, he became a cleric of Athreos in order to try and figure out like some way to either bring his boyfriend back and like have him have an honorable death, or move him to Elysium with some kind of bargain.
Dude, that's gonna be so good. I'm so excited. My fish ladies just was raised on a pirate ship with their brother.
Oh man. But yeah, no. It should be a seriously fun campaign. And honestly,
I'm so excited, yet I'm so scared that I have to be the smart one.
Yeah. I gotta say though, like, I have been like the biggest proponent of just like, I just use homebrew. I don't use like any of like the source books or anything like that. And like the Theros like source book is honestly like really, really good and really, really appealing to me, because like it adds so much that you like wouldn't expect. Just kind of like thinking by yourself, and like having all this like pre-established lore gives you like so much room as a DM to explore like ideas and stuff with like a campaign based in the universe. Yeah, no, I really, really like this book, and I really hope that Wizards of the Coast like releases more books like this in different like settings.
I'm so excited to play this game. Not even kidding. Like just Greek mythology and then D&D. Ooh, so nice.
Yeah, should be fun. But yeah, so you guys want to get back into talking about our homebrew Phoenix Heart campaign now?
Yeah.
Alright, so when we last left off our heroes, they were all standing in front of a burning train.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we watched the train burn away. Okay, so when that happened, Boondock, I believe, was the only one who saw Essen actually transform into a god. So when we all met up, Boondock didn't say a goddamn word at all about any of it. And then, pretty much everyone saw this fox on a horse and was like, where's Juliet? I don't know. Alright, cool, she's probably dead or something, let's go. Like,
ditched her in the desert.
Rude. Absolutely rude.
Oh my god.
I just wanted to see, like, I stayed a fox, like, I could have turned back in any time I wanted, but I wanted to stay and see what they would do. And these fuckers were like, she's dead.
They called your bluff, dude. They called your bluff.
That's some bullshit. No, they didn't. I turned back and they're like, oh, hey. I'm like, are you serious?
Oh my god. Yeah. So Essen at this point did not have a horse, so I believe he hopped aboard the horse with had just a fox on it.
Yeah, and he was just like, you know, petting the fox, and like Juliet's like, alright, weirdo, but okay.
Actually, wait. My favorite tiny little detail about that was that Essen walks over to the horse with a fox on it. He tries to like move like the fox so he can sit in front. The fox then yips at him and tells him to fucking get in the back.
He didn't. No. She didn't yip at him. She full on like bark screamed at him, not like just get away. If you guys don't know what we're talking about, please look up fox noises on YouTube or something, please. It is so worth your time.
Yeah, so Essen heads behind the fox, just taking orders from this apparently sentient animal.
And nobody questioned it.
Oh my god.
So, from then, after she turned back and whatnot, we were all heading toward Hope's Landing with just horses. And we also had all of the hostages tied up to the back of Boondock's horse. So, when we camped out, I believe, Titus tried to shoot Boondock again, like, right after waking up, after we, like, knocked him out. And Boondock just straight up, like, blew his hand off.
Yeah.
And we were like, oh, shit, okay.
Yeah. So Titus then revealed that he was desperate to kill Boondock because Boondock had a bounty on his head, and like if Titus couldn't get like the money together, then he would not have been able to pay for an operation for his sister. Yeah, and so I really enjoyed coming up with that backstory for Titus and like why he did this, very like horrible thing to one of his childhood friends. But yeah, it was honestly just like I really recommend doing this to kind of like lawful characters. Don't do this obviously all the time, but having like
torture
villains...
them continuously.
Having villains that are somewhat sympathetic really kind of like adds a bit of like moral dilemma to your party and kind of like tries to make them think like, oh, like do we kill this person or like do we try to give them another chance because they're like misguided. It really kind of starts to like bring roleplay into mechanics, which is what I absolutely love about D&D.
Yes.
Yeah, so then you tied up the bandits to the horses, and then I believe you turned back, and I think Essen at this point was kind of like panicking a little bit. I think this was the start of the ship between Essen and Juliet.
Yes, so basically Essen was having like a whole moral breakdown because he just realized that he let the Kieran take over his body, and he was like freaking the fuck out. And he's like, oh my god, I need... He's a very like what's the word I want to say, like touch starved, I guess, or like physical comfort kind of dude. So he basically hugged Juliet from behind, and she's like, what the fuck, what are you doing? And he's like, can you just please let me just sit here for like a second? And she's like, okay, whatever. And finally once he got over it, he kept trying to touch her tail, and she's like, bro, I will slap you. Quit it. And after a little bit, after they like continue down the road, she eventually lets him touch her tail to like calm him down more, because she realizes that's what he wanted, was to like just physical touch. And like I'm assuming a foxtail is super soft, so so that was the start of the surprising ship that I didn't think was gonna happen, but it happened. Like, that was just, like, the small, tiny seed that we didn't think was that anything was going to happen from it. So as we're going, we realize we are in a desert. Hops is a frog. Yeah. Hops will dry out and die.
Yeah, no. Grung can only live without being, like, submerged in water for 6 days before they will die of exhaustion. They literally take a level of exhaustion if they're not submerged in water for at least an hour every day.
Jeez.
Yeah, it's kind of rough, but like Grung also have a lot of like very, very strong features that like...
That's fair.
Yeah, so they start traveling through the desert like as Hops is starting to dry up, and you guys eventually make camp for the first night.
Yep. And I don't think anything particular happened other than we found out Titus needed the money for his sister's operation. We found out all three of the assassins had a personal vendetta against Boondock.
Yeah. Favorite little tiny moment from that scene was that, you asked the other guy, and they said something about, like, you, like, killed my father, and, like, because he had to resort to banditry to put, like, food on the table. And then, like, you still had, like, the gag over the woman because she was, like, a spellcaster, and I just said, like, well, if she, like, mutters out, like, probably something that's related to, like, a backstory and you doing something bad to her that caused her to have a vendetta against you.
Yeah, we were like, no, we're not taking any chances. You can mumble your way around, but yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah, good times. And then in the morning, Titus started to warm up to us a little bit because, like, I think Boondock was the one who talked to him and whatnot. Yeah. And then we headed out. We're, like, on the outskirts of town now of Hope's Landing, and we head through a valley, and we see, like, this destroyed, like, caravan, like, just sitting in the middle of this canyon almost. And it looks like it has magical goods. And Juliet, being fucking
Juliet.
nosy, being herself, decides, oh, I'm gonna dig through all of this shit. And she found a whip, and she was like, oh, a whip. Essen really wanted the whip. And she's like, oh. And then an antlion came out of the ground, and we're like, oh, well,
Yeah.
okay.
So, how I had this like encounter planned out in my head was this. The antlion appears, and it was going to be like this kind of like difficult fight for you guys to do, and you guys would have to figure out like, oh, do we want to stay and like fight the creature and get all of the loot from it, or do we just want to like try and take the loot and run? But however, the thing I forgot to account for is monks are bullshit.
Monks are bullshit.
Yeah, so there's a bit of a balance problem in D&D, and I honestly wouldn't say it's a problem, it's just kind of me messing up how to do this, but if you start each day with a long rest, you should have about like 6 to 8 encounters a day to like balance it out before your next long rest. However, when you're doing travel, I figured that like you only probably want like maybe 1 encounter per like day or so, because like I'm not gonna do like 6 encounters before you get to Hope's Landing or so. Yeah, and so with that, Hops had all of her key points and decided, well, I'm just gonna try and Stunning Strike with every hit. Then like burned like 3 of her like key points, and the last one she managed to like stun it. And as soon as the singular monster was stunned, everyone else can immediately pile on damage for an entire round, while the monster can do literally nothing back. So you guys then just like all started just curb stomping the monster.
Oh, absolutely. Like, and it got to a point where you were like, okay, I think the monster's gonna run away now, and I was like,
it was literally limping away.
No, I sliced its tail off,
Yeah.
and then its mandibles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
still
sliced
have
the tail
those.
off from the mandibles. You do still have those, and Boondock then rushed after the monster and then started using his gun tar to beat the monster to death.
Yeah, pretty much. We bullied the shit out of that ant. I'm not kidding. We're like, well, that was easy, and you're like, why?
Yeah. Oh man, yeah, no, it's definitely hard to balance content around like moving from location to location. What I've heard of the solution, and I do kind of like this, and I might like do this like next time, is that when you're moving from location to location, you switch to the gritty realism rules, which means that if you camp out for the night, that's only a short rest, and in order to actually get a long rest, you need to spend an actual week resting. So basically, when you travel, you can only take short rest, and like you almost basically can't take a long rest unless you really decide to wait this 1 week out and lose a hell of a lot of time in your travel.
Right.
Yeah, so I do really like that, and I might play around with that, but honestly, I think it's actually kind of nice to have a couple of encounters where you guys just curb stomp monsters, because like D&D, it can be fun, like just having a little bit of like a power fantasy sometimes. So like, you know, just tossing in like a couple of encounters that don't really matter, but just give your players a chance to just like show off their cool abilities.
Oh yeah.
That's always just like a very easy way to keep your players engaged. And considering like if it's just wilderness travel, quote unquote, the fights don't really matter. So just like occasionally give your players just a chance to curb stomp something. That's my advice for this session.
It'll make us feel so much better.
Yeah, it makes them feel better than when you pull the rug out from underneath them and give them difficult encounters that they can't just like curb stomp their way through.
Yeah, like almost every NPC that we've met so far.
Okay. I might have a problem with NPCs betraying you.
Might? Okay, bud. Anyway, moving forward. So we kill the thing. We pretty much demolish the thing. And then Juliet is like, okay, I want to find more cool shit. Starts digging around. Finds a purple katana. that glows, and she's like, "Oh, this is amazing!" and just gives the whip to us, and she doesn't give a shit. She wants the sword because like that's how she was raised. Sword, cool shit, absolutely. And then we also found some armor for Boondock because I don't think did Boondock ever have armor before this?
He did. So, as a bard, you start with medium armor. And as soon as he got to 5th level, I think, he took heavy armor master, but, like, he still only had medium armor. And it was it's rough as a Valor bard because, like, you, need Constitution just because, like, you're kind of a tankier character now and you're, like, a frontline fighter. You need Charisma because you're a bard and that's how you spellcast.
It's bard,
and you also need either Strength or Dexterity because, that's how you fight with, like, a melee weapon. And so... Boondock's player was very insistent that, like, well, I want him to be, like, a strong boy sheriff. And so, like, he really wanted to use the strength stat for his attacks and stuff like that, and just have, like, expertise in athletics so he could just, like, you know, grapple things and lift things and just generally be a strong boy.
Yes.
Yeah, so... having heavy armor master, and especially because we only started at like level 3, there was definitely like the first encounter he was kind of screaming because like his AC was extremely low and he just needed so much more like stats in order to make his build good. But like as soon as he got heavy armor master and like me just being able to toss like heavy armor at him for free, he became an infinitely better character. And like honestly, as DM, really make sure to like give your players those kinds of handouts that they need in order to like make a bad build into a usable one.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And then magical items. So yeah. So what did you think then about your purple ghost?
At first, I was like, this is very convenient. Must be a trap. Why is there a katana of all things in the middle of a fucking desert? And then I got over it because it was cool, and I was like, all right, cool. I have basically a purple lightsaber. This is pretty nice.
Yeah. Yeah. So with this, this is definitely like a high magic items campaign, and so I am of the personal mindset that like if you're playing a strictly like melee character like rogues, fighters, blood hunters, you need a magical weapon. Period. By like the time you get to level 5 or so, because like. D&D core books say, like, yes, you can get away with just having, like, non-magical weapons, and then you'll eventually just upgrade to, like, a silvered weapon or something. But I really think that, like, because the melee classes are so much, like, they definitely can feel weaker than the spellcasters, they really need the magic weapons in order to, like, tune them up a little bit. Yeah, so you guys basically got like homebrewed custom weapons, which I kind of tried to like tailor around each person. They didn't really do like a ton much more, but they kind of like added things or like played into your builds. So like for Essen, it just added like a little bit like of like raw damage and like an AoE, because as a blood hunter, he really can't do like area of effect damage, so I decided to give him just like a little bit of that to kind of like patch up that hole in his build. And then with the purple ghost, I believe that just like gave you a free throwing knife that you could use all the time.
Yes. So when we got these weapons, we wanted to try them out, obviously, because you know, a brand new shiny toy. So I renamed my sword Purple Ghost because it looked cool. And it sounded cool, so you know.
Hell yeah.
Style points. Okay, so I renamed it Purple Ghost because I thought, you know, it looks cool and it sounds cool because it glows. It kind of looks like ghosties, you know. Purple lightsaber, what is? So as I'm like swinging it around, all of a sudden, so if any of you are familiar with Percy Jackson, either the terrible movie or the amazing book series, you know how there's like a pen in his pocket, turns into a sword, and then when he throws the sword, the pen reappears in his pocket? That's basically what happened, but it's not a pen. It's a ghost kunai. Like, it's like, it glows, like, it's like, what did you describe it as, like ethereal almost?
Ethereal purple, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a kunai, and I threw it, and it came back in my hand, and I was like, oh, this is so cool, call me Naruto Uzumaki, let's go!
Oh man. And I just want to put this out there. I wanted to give you a throwing knife you could use and just like you would always get like a throwing knife in your hand, because I really wanted you to be able to like have an option so you could stay in the back line and not get hit every single fight, because you're a very, very squishy character.
Now, when has that worked? I think once, and that's it. That I have decided to fight from the back.
Yeah. So, yeah, I tried to make it so that you had the option, but then you decided to ignore me and just like, oh, I can use the kunai to make a second attack on my turn. Of course, that's what I'm going to do every single time, as I taunt every monster into attacking me with my 0 constitution.
You know, I have no words. I have no excuse here. Ignoring that.
Actually, I just want to put this out there. There has been at least, I want to say, 3 moments of me just, like, doing some DM fiat in order to, like, not immediately kill you with the, outright damage rule. There were several times where truly I could have been no more. But go on.
Okay, skirting past that. Now that fear is in my mind for tonight's freaking session. Okay. Anyway, and then Essen got the whip, and the whip had like cool like sakura cherry blossoms on it, and when he snapped it, like actual sakura blossoms came out of it and started like dancing across the air, and I was like, oh my god, cat mode. And I went to go and touch one, and then it fucking exploded, and I was like, holy shit, why are they exploding? Is this the fucking Hunger Games? Is this where Prim dies? Like, what do you want from me?
It was just such a great little moment of like, I should tell her this, but also it'd be really, really funny if I didn't.
What if I got one hit KO'd there? Like, completely. I would have been so mad.
I didn't feel too bad because it was only like a D4 of damage, but it was hilarious to see like, oh, like she goes into cat mode, like wide-eyed in the middle of like all these like petals, and then I'm like, okay, the petals start going like fucking exploding around you.
Yeah, that was fun. Impulsiveness for the win, everyone. If you ever decide to play an impulsive character, don't. It's not fun anymore.
As a DM, please do. Oh man. Yeah. So.
Yeah. But anyway, so we renamed it Sakura
yes.
Snap. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So that is what happened. And then we found the armor, gave the armor to Boondock, and then we headed. I think we headed out a little bit, and then took watch in the canyon for that day. And this is where the ship kind of sailed, finally. So we took watches, that as you do, and Essen and Juliet went first. And and at first you were like, okay, just roll perception rolls and we're gonna move on. I'm like, I want to talk to him, and you're like, oh, shit.
So
okay.
Here's what happened here.
Guess I'll step aside.
In my last like campaign, reminder, this is like the 3rd session of this campaign. But in my last campaign, I would like have to fucking like prompt people and bribe people with inspiration points to get them to talk to each other in character. The characters never told each other their backstory until the fucking like 4th arc or something.
Yeah, that's fair.
They didn't.
But I wanted to talk to him, and you were like, "Oh, okay, sorry."
Yeah, I didn't know that you guys would just take initiative on your own like this. It was great. I fucking loved it.
Well, you know what? Well, now you know.
Yeah.
So I was just like, I just wanted to get to know him because he's like a brand new person. I have no idea who this guy is. I just know he hitched a ride with us. I guess he didn't die in the train. Good job, dude. And he helped us fight. So I was like, okay, cool. He's chill. He's chill. And I was just talking with him. And I was like, so what's the deal with the touch? Why are you weird? And he's like, oh, I don't know. I haven't been touched in a long, like, not weird, but like I haven't been held or like embraced in a long time. And she's like, oh, okay. Do you want like a hug? And he was like, what's that? And I was like, oh my god. Or no, it was a high five. I was high-fiving him, and he was like, what is that? I'm like, high five, bro. And then I hugged him, and he started to cry, and I was like, what are you doing? And he's like, I'm sorry. And I just haven't been, like, embraced in a long time, and I was just like, crying's for damsels, knock it the fuck off.
Oh, the most iconic line of the campaign.
Crying's for damsels. Yeah, and
that is
like,
easily like Juliet's quote. Period.
Oh,
like,
absolutely. Like, there's nothing else that you need to know other than she's a drunk and crying is for damsels. That's it. Period.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else. Not all this cool backstory stuff. No. Just these two things. So, they had a moment, and he was just like, "Oh my gosh, she's okay. She's cool." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm just a dumbass. It's fine." And
you told him that in character.
No, I didn't. And then once our watch ended, then it shifted over, I think, to Boondock and Hobbs, and nothing really happened with them. And then it was Morgan by himself, and
yeah,
Morgan went over to Titus and started talking with him. And if you want to explain it better, I can.
Yeah,
I can kind of remember.
This was such a really choice scene, and because I was looking at my notes the other day and realized oh my god, this scene was supposed to happen so fucking differently. What I intended to happen with the scene was this. You thought that the woman was the only spellcaster. However, Titus and the other guy also had the spells on their ability list. They're also sharing the same stat block. So I'm like, okay, as soon as it's just Morgan on watch, both of them are going to cast Suggestion on Morgan in order to get them to untie the bandits, and the bandits would take all your horses and leave you stranded in Hope's Land.
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah, that's actually how it was supposed to happen.
Oh my god.
Instead, Morgan started talking to Titus, and Morgan started talking hey, so why'd you do this whole thing? And Titus kind of he was being his usual edgy boy self, and kind of you wouldn't understand. Morgan eventually kept inquiring though, and Titus eventually said yeah, no, I needed the money for my sister's operation, and that Reverend Salt was the person he was supposed to give the money to, and his sister would eventually be cured of the illness. And so Morgan then just had this really great character moment where he just says oh, how much do you need? I'll pay for it right now. And so Titus just kind of stared at him real confused, wondering what Morgan's angle was.
Mm-hmm.
And then eventually kind of figured out no, Morgan has just literally decided to just do this. He doesn't want anything in return, nothing. He just wants to help Titus's sister just because Titus's sister needs help. And that was probably the turning point where I realized I can fucking do something with Titus here, and decided to instead of having him go forth with this whole villain arc, and said yeah, no, he's gonna try and have a bit of a redemption arc here, and gonna try and help you guys out, because wow, that was really really good.
Yeah, it really told a lot about Morgan's character, because from here to this point, I didn't really get a good read on what Morgan was, other than a really good boy. That was it.
Yeah.
He was just a good guy and helped us. That was it. Yeah, he found a train whistle and that was cute, but that was all I knew. So this was a really good moment to figure out who he was as his personal just thoughts and morals and stuff. He was willing to give his own gold for somebody else he barely ever knew. And I'm that is so selfless. And I'm wow, if only I could learn. That's nice.
Yeah, no. Oh man, so fucking good. I adored that moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, no, but wow, I had to just kind of throw my plans out the window, because I realized yeah, no, this is a much better angle to go with. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that also just kind of helps though. Whenever I plan out a campaign, I try not to plan out this event will happen. I plan it out as in the characters are planning to do this, and then you guys can react to it however you choose to, and however they react is however you guys decide to react. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so because all I had planned out was that they're going to attempt to do this, it was very, very easy for me to immediately shift gears and be like, yep, nope, redemption arc. This is too good to not take.
Right.
Oh my god, though, so good.
Yes. So after that whole incursion thing, we all got up and we all finally arrived at Hope's Landing, and you BS'd all of this.
Yes, I did, because I kind of assumed like, the monster was gonna be a really tough fight, so you guys are gonna spend like a bit of time on it.
Wrong.
And then you guys didn't in any way, shape, or form. And you basically just kind of like breezed past it and realized like, I have no notes for this, but I'm like, well, how hard could it really be to improv this entire intro part? And so I just kind of asked you guys like, what do you guys want to do in town? I guess.
We all kind of went along with it too. I honestly had no idea that you bullshitted any of this until you told me, and I was like, no way. You did a pretty good job.
I got really lucky with it because like you guys just played into like the Western tropes and stuff like that.
Oh yeah.
And I could just like, and you guys also like, you guys are very, very good about telling me what your characters want to do instead of waiting for like the plot to come find you. So I can just kind of like wrap the plot around like your character goals and what you guys are trying to accomplish, and then just like present complications in that way. Yeah, so I believe your first then option, then you decided to split up between the shop, which Morgan went to, the bar, which Juliet and Essen went to, and Ma Boondock's place, which Boondock and Hops went to.
Yes. So we focused on Hops and Ma Boondock because, you know, Hops was...
This is the story, yes.
Hops, and I quote, needed to wet herself.
Okay, so, this is one of those things where, like, the player and the character really kind of just, like, the brain cells collided there, because the player in real life, she'll occasionally say things without, like, realizing the meanings behind them.
But it was so funny.
She just kind of like says these kinds of things and then realizes like, oh, I shouldn't have said it. That was like an innuendo, wasn't it? And just kind of like, oops, shrugs, walks off.
Yeah, it was just so funny, man. So we finally meet Ma Boondock, which is Boondock's mom. She's also a satyr and a druid and protects the oasis that is Hope's Landing.
Yeah, so the Oasis of Hope's Landing is like the only reason Hope's Landing can even exist in the first place, because like it's the only like place that they can like grow like food and get like clean water. So Ma Boondock basically distributes a lot of the food and water to people in town. And of course the Oasis is constantly under attack because bandits, you know, want to claim the food and water for themselves and effectively gain control of Hope's Landing. When I was kind of trying to figure out Ma Boondock, I was kind of thinking like, how would it work for like this very like stoic, serious satyr? How would he have been raised? And so I realized like, wait, what if the character was just kind of like very similar to Boondock, but also just like ever so slightly motherly? So what I had for her intro scene was that Ma Boondock greeted Boondock, gave him like a quick like hug, make sure he was all right, and you know, doing all these motherly things. Boondock asked his mom like, so how have things been in Hope's Landing since I've been gone? No trouble or anything like that? And Ma Boondock just kind of shrugged and says like, well, there was a little bit of trouble. As she points at the fucking like tied up bandits she's captured behind her. And she says, like, yeah, no, I think my gun name was a little bit off, but still managed to get the job done just right.
Oh, yeah.
And as she smiled, like, for the first time in the campaign, Boondock, like, also cracked, like, this huge grin, which I absolutely just loved that character moment.
Oh, absolutely. Like, dude, your mom just beat up some bandits. That's pretty badass. Like...
yeah, no, and it was really fun just playing the space of, like, this very motherly character who will just fucking, like, shoot a man on
absolutely.
Sight.
No hesitation.
Yeah, no, it
what
was
an icon.
Such a... Yeah, it's honestly one of my favorite NPCs to play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, Hops finally wet herself, and Ma Boondock started talking about things happening in town, kind of just been saying, like, I don't remember if Ma Boondock also gave you the information that, like, the townsfolk were, like, being threatened by some kind of, like, bandit organization, but Ma Boondock was stuck protecting the oasis and can't really do much to investigate the bandit incursion. Yeah, and as that was happening, then we then cut to the bar, if you want to go ahead.
Oh my gosh. So, Juliet, being the alcoholic she is, would immediately go find the bar first, out of everything.
Yeah.
Like, food, water, no, the bar. Obviously, the bar. So, they go in, and it is the most depressing bar she has ever seen in her entire life.
Yeah.
And that's sad.
Know. You guys, I asked you guys if you wanted to kick down the saloon doors, but you guys refused, and that made me sad.
Why?
Because it's the Western trope. You gotta kick down the saloon doors when you enter the bar.
Yeah, but
you gotta.
Oh my gosh. Well, it didn't happen. Okay,
it's
time.
The law.
Okay, the next time we go to Hope's Landing, she's gonna find Festus and kick him through the doors.
Alright, sorry, go ahead.
Anyway, that's another NPC we'll discuss in just a second.
Yeah.
So, we go in, and it is so depressing. Everyone's like quiet, nothing's happening. Like, so she goes up to the bartender, is like, the strongest drink you have, please. And her name is Mama? Something
Yeah.
like that? Yeah. And she was like, oh, okay, you're like a tiny fox lady. Why would you, of all people, want the strongest drink? And she's like, just trust me. Downs it, no hesitation, no flinching whatsoever. And she's like, oh, shit. Okay.
Yeah.
So she looks around and she starts asking questions like, what's going on lately? Like, why is everyone depressed and whatnot? And she was explaining stuff about the gangs and whatnot. She's like, well, that sucks. Hey, do you have music? Like, completely disregards what's happening with the bandits and stuff. She's like, I want to have a fun time. So she finds a piano, and based on her background, only plays like some classical shit, nothing like cheery or anything, until Essen manages to convince her to play one song that's somewhat westerny. And he tries to sing, and he's tone deaf.
Oh, that was great.
And she's like, oh shit, I gotta sing over him really loud so he'll shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and some people are starting to kind of, like, get into it, and then I was like, yeah, it's because you guys made, like, the character goal of, like, oh, you need to, like, cheer up these, like, bar patrons, which, by the way, was just apropos of nothing, I decided, like, alright, I'll just keep, like, giving you guys, like, some obstacles and stuff like that, and you guys can try and give me ways that you're going to cheer these patrons up. So then we went into the drinking contest, didn't we?
Oh my god. So, she looks around to find the one who had the most drinks around him. Like, the one she would think, oh, this guy is totally gonna put up a fight with drinking. Hey, you wanna have a drinking contest? And it's this man, his name is Festus, yeah?
Yep.
This like shruggy looking old man, just like one drink,
mustache
he's already out.
Covering his mouth.
Yeah, like he doesn't actually speak words, he mumbles things.
Yeah.
One drink, he's out. And she's like, well, that fucking sucked.
Yeah. I would try to set the drinking contest so you guys had to make, like, increasingly higher constitution saves, and, like, I think Festus rolled, like, a 3 on his first save, so I'm like, okay, I guess he's down.
I'm like, well, that's depressing. Yeah.
Someone else then immediately, like, steps up to the plate and you guys actually have a drinking contest and start, like, to kind of rile up the crowd a little bit, because people are starting to, like, bet on you two and who's gonna actually, like, manage to hold out here. I think you do manage to hold out, though, and, like,
but
right?
she was so drunk.
Yep.
So drunk. But while all that was happening, Essen was actually trying to do what was asked of him to, like, let's figure out some stuff about the gang and stuff. And Juliet, nah, let's fucking drink. It's fine.
Essen then kind of like he talks to one person and he keeps like failing his persuasion rolls, unfortunately. So the first person immediately like clams up and eventually like refuses to talk to him. So he tries to talk to someone else who's like this big burly guy. Yeah, Essen then talks to him. The burly guy then like as soon as he starts asking questions, I believe about like Mr. Salt and the Hydra Gang in general, the burly guy then excuses himself. Then I believe that we cut back to Juliet, who was if you actually want to explain what you were trying to do here at this point.
So you know when you have a good idea, and then that good idea turns horrible in the best way possible to everybody else but you? That's what happened here. This is what happens a lot with her. Like, such a good idea, execution, awful. Yep. Results may vary. Like, so she's drunk off her ass because this is not the drinks that she's used to in the Jackal's Den. Which Jackal's Den I feel like has pretty hard liquor. This is like the equivalent of moonshine in the West. So she's drunk off her ass, goes up to this guy, and attempts to cabedon. And if you don't know what cabedon means, it literally means like you're pushing a person up against the wall and you're like slamming your hand next to their like head. Just it's like an intimidating thing that is sometimes alluring. Results may vary. But she doesn't use her hand. No, she uses her fucking steel-toed boots.
And kicks through the wall.
And kicks through the wall. Right near his head. And this poor man is like, oh my god, what the fuck? And trying to seduce him like, hey.
You kept trying to seduce him, but I just kept playing the guy as like more and more fearful as like... You're increasingly more like drunk and erratic and just like, you know, like you're stumbling around, you like almost fucking like headbutt him trying to like lean in close.
Yeah.
And he's just increasingly more like, God, please don't hurt me.
It was so like his hands were up, he was shaking, he's like, oh my god, I'm so sorry. And I'm like, I just want information. It's fine. Just tell me what. And eventually he tells me where the Hydra Gang is located. And I was like, alright, cool. And then he runs away.
You also told him like you asked him like where's the Hydra Gang anyways, and like the guy terrified of his mind said like Hydra Gang's in the outskirts of the town, that's all I know. And then you like lean in like real close and like, you're not one of the Hydra Gang members, are ya? And the man like starts to like lower his sleeves and stuff like that and says, no, I'm not a Hydra Gang member. All the Hydra Gang members have snake tattoos on their wrists.
Yes.
Yeah, and after you get, like, this information, he eventually just, like, scurries out of the bar, terrified for his life. But you did eventually get that information.
Like... Oh, yes. Well, next session. And poor Essen having to take care of a drunk Juliet.
Yeah.
Which, I'm so sorry.
And then, meanwhile, the third scene that was happening concurrently was Morgan went to the shop to go buy some ammo. He walks in the shopkeep store, and the shopkeep tells him that the ammo is 5 times more expensive than it should be. And so Morgan's like, that's really expensive. Can I just get some scrap metal so I can make my own ammo? And so, like, the guy eventually acquiesces, gives him some scrap ammo, and when all the party like meets up back together, Boondock sees Morgan just like sitting in the sand, making his like own ammo. Just like, what the hell are you doing, Morgan? And Morgan tells him like, yeah, I was gonna buy some ammo, but it's like way more expensive than it should be. So Boondock picks Morgan up and basically just kind of like storms into the shopkeeper's office, basically just like, don't ever talk to me or my son ever again, and tries to figure out like, why the hell is ammo so goddamn expensive all of a sudden here. And the shopkeep also gives him some plot critical info by saying that like, the Hydra Gang has eventually like enforced this like tariff on the town, and so that all the ammo in town is pretty goddamn expensive for anyone who isn't a Hydra member, because they're trying to make sure that like no one has the equipment to storm the Hydra base.
Right.
And so that eventually I think Boondock tries to intimidate him, but I think you're the one that sealed the deal there.
So, picture this. So there's Boondock, big iron on his hip, Morgan, talking to this man. I don't know how Boondock failed, because I thought their intimidation thing was, like, a lot higher than I thought, but I guess not.
I think they rolled, like, a 6, and then it was total to, like, a 14.
Yeah. And Boondock was trying his best, and all of a sudden Juliet just fucking slams in, tail poofy, like, you know how when cats get scared, their tail just poofs, and like, I like to imagine her hair like Studio Ghibli hair, which is like poofy whenever they get like emotions and shit, scares the fucking shit out of this man by just looming behind Boondock.
Yeah. So eventually the man like says like, okay, I'll sell you the ammo at normal price, but like, please go and take care of the Hydra gang, so I don't get like, you know, killed by them for doing this. To which Boondock agrees. And I have a confession about this scene. This scene only happened the way it did because I'm an idiot. I have a firearms table, and including on that table is like the gold price for ammo, as well as the amount of ammo you can get from it. So it's like 4 GP for 20 rounds of ammo. I read the thing backwards, and instead of doing 4 GP for 20 ammo, I did 20 GP for 5 ammo. So
yeah, that's a little ridiculous.
Yeah, and so, like, it was just this insanely overpriced thing because I fucked up reading the table, but then I managed to just kind of, like, play it off as this, like, oh, it's plot relevant. I don't know how it worked that well.
Honestly, I have no idea how it worked that well either. I'm like, what? How do you read that weird? Like... it happens.
But it all worked out, and you guys thought it was like, he's been planning this from the beginning.
Beginning.
But no, that was literally spur of the moment, just like me kind of panicking, reading the tables wrong.
Yeah.
And it worked out, I guess.
Oh, so we have some notes here to look off of. I remembered something before we even got to this part. So after he agreed to sell it correctly, Juliet drunkenly called Cass. And
yeah,
and was like, Cass, what's up, buddy? Like, you know how have you ever had a drunk person call you, like, just to talk, and it's so funny. That's what happened.
Dude, okay, a slight tangent. I've been that drunk person.
I mean, same.
So, sophomore year, I went out to go party with some frat boys because I don't actually know why.
It's college. You do things.
Yeah. I thought like I would be fine just like keeping pace with these guys, but these guys would like party every single weekend, had way higher of a tolerance than I did. So like they said like, oh yeah, just like bring like a water bottle, and so I'm like, okay. They drained my water bottle, and then they fucking like filled it up with fucking
vodka.
Oh
my god.
Yep. So,
oh my god. And
then they said like cheers, and then started like fucking chugging it, and so I didn't want to like pussy out there, so I'm like, all right, I'll chug it too.
Oh my god.
Anyways, the night ended at somewhere around like 1 a.m. or so. I texted one of my friends saying like, yo, I'm so fucking out of it right now. I think this entire thing's a dream, but it's not a dream right now. So I'm gonna text you the code word salamander, and I need you to tell me salamander in the morning so I know that this isn't a fucking dream.
You have code words?
I woke up really fucking hungover.
Oh my god.
I just like say a fucking like buzz, I look at my phone, and my friend just like sends me salamander. And then immediately just sends back, you're a fucking dipshit.
Bro, I'm gonna do that the next time I get drunk. That's such a good idea.
Anyways, sorry. Yeah, so Juliet decided to call Cass drunk. Basically doing this.
Thank you so much for this background information. I'm gonna keep over your head for a long time now. Anyway. Anyway.
Mm-hmm.
She just calls Cass drunk because Cass is like her father figure, so who's she gonna talk to? You know, Dad. Yeah. Hey, Dad! I'm drunk.
Oh my god.
And poor Essen is like, I'm so sorry, sir. I don't know what's happening. I cannot keep her under control.
Cass is totally, like, used to it. This isn't the first time you called him drunk.
Oh, no. But what's funny is, going back to, like, the first session, he turns and looks over, and I think Boondock is talking with Faith at the same time that I called Cass. That's what egged me on to call Cass, was Boondock had to call Faith.
Yeah.
And he's like, hey, babe, look, Juliet's drunk. And I was like, babe? What? And there's fucking Faith. And I was like, oh my god, they're dating. And then Juliet starts crying. She's like, I want a babe too. Just starts crying.
Yeah, as Essen's like trying to comfort her.
He's like, what's a babe? I'll get you a babe. Stop crying.
Yeah.
You told me crying is for damsels. Why are you like this? She's just crying.
Oh my god. Yeah, that was so good.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no. Yeah, and I think like you didn't even like realize that I had this whole thing planned out from like, the first session until
this was the moment that I figured out that Cass and Faith were actually dating, and I was like, oh my god, this makes sense.
Yeah, sometimes I actually do plan things out way in advance. Sometimes it's just sheer stupidity and luck.
Oh yeah. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah. As you guys are, like, all in the store and you eventually, like, realize, like, okay, we'll help you with your Hydra problem, you guys then hear a gunshot outside.
Yeah.
And so, as you all, like, rush outside, you see the, large man that Essen was talking to in the bar, who walked out of the bar after, Essen started mentioning the Hydras. The large man is standing in front, of a dead body, and, you can see that he's holding a smoking coach gun in his hand. And next to the large man is Reverend Salt, who taunts Boondock, by basically saying just like, oh hey, didn't know you were back in town.
I think Juliet flipped him off.
Yeah. No,
honestly, when hasn't she?
I don't think it was flipping off. I think it was very specifically this. I think Reverend Salt literally said, like, hey, Boondock, didn't know you were back in town. And Julia immediately, like, waved hi back or something.
Oh, yes, that's what happened. The one time she didn't flip somebody off, she just waved hi.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And that's where we ended that session, and all of us were like, what the fuck?
Yeah, cliffhangers.
Cliffhangers are good and evil.
I really enjoyed doing the cliffhangers because it really keeps you guys engaged for the next session because you guys all want to know, like, oh man, what the fuck happened? What the fuck happened?
I mean, we're all engaged pretty much all the time. Are you kidding me?
Well, I mean, this is more just kind of like just like the murmuring and everyone just kind of like gasping, like, oh man, what's happening? What's happening? Yeah. And I also fucking pulled, like, the Walking Dead moment where I didn't tell you who was the dead body that was shot.
Right.
So you guys were all kind of like speculating, like, oh my god, is it Titus? Is it Ma Boondock? Who could this be?
Yeah. Man, that was harsh, dude.
Oh, man. But yeah, no, that was a really great session considering that I fucking bullshitted the entire half.
Oh yeah, it was good though. It really was.
Yeah, it really did. Man, oh man.
That's a good like segue into this one of the quick questions. Like, what are things that you think about when planning the next session? Because all of this was bullshitted somehow.
Yeah. So I try to find ways to kind of like bring hooks from previous sessions into like the later sessions and kind of like moving things to tie everything like together.
Mm-hmm.
So the biggest thing is that like if there's things that you guys do as characters that have consequences like in the world, I try to think about like the consequences, like are there any long-term consequences for this, and should I plan things out for later because they did this action. I don't think we've had any like huge ones where you guys have like done something and like it's had consequences way down the line. But there's been some like smaller ones where it's like you like took the barrel of alcohol and then it caused the fire elemental to burn down the entire train instead.
I also broke federal crime, but we can skirt past that.
Oh man, yeah, we'll get to that one real soon here. Oh man, that's gonna be a fun episode to talk about.
I'll never let it go. I think that's hilarious. In the moment, ouch. Looking back at it,
like, yeah, because there was little to no consequences for it, and like Juliet did learn a pretty important lesson. It was funny, but like, boy, you could have lost your character.
I would have been so depressed because I love her. I'm already committed.
Oh my god. Yeah, other things I kind of think about are like ways that I can just like what are the things that you guys are kind of like looking for in terms of like character goals and stuff like that? So, for example, like because you guys wanted to befriend Titus, I was gonna give Titus more scenes where he would get like kind of a sort of redemption arc and become more sympathetic. And you guys are gonna get to like meet his sister and like talk to her and do the whole things with that.
Mm-hmm.
I also then came up with a plan for like, if you guys wanted to explore this option, then like Faith could be the one to help Titus's sister. And yeah, so it's a lot of just like, how can I build upon what's already there, and then how can I create more like interesting character moments to like get you guys to either feel a certain way or like disagree with each other or try to like do things that'll kind of push your character arcs forward. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything that you guys you think of when you're planning out your campaigns?
Okay. So I'm only DMing one campaign at the moment. I love to play with emotions. I know that sounds super sadistic, but I do. So basically, what I like last session, what we had threw me for a loop, but I had something planned where I needed to get one of the members out of the party, like completely separate, like segregated from the party, but one person had to like initiate it. So what I had happen, they wanted to like go look at the Moreau like hideout under this lake, and so they were swimming and stuff, and they didn't really find much because all of them were dead. Long story. So as they're swimming up, I wanted a march order, and they're like, "We just defeated all of them. How does that make sense?" I'm like, just listen to me. I want to know. Akari, who is a monk, she's basically like a Kyoshi warrior from Avatar: The Last Airbender. She's really cool. Yeah. Something grabs her foot and drags her underneath the sand, and everyone's like, "Oh my god, what the fuck? She's dead." And I described it like this. She was like surrounded in black. She can breathe still, and she hears the big bad evil guy's voice surrounding her, just laughing. And she sees this girl, like a vision, like right in front of her, like kind of like a TV screen almost, of this girl named Pearl that she has kind of like romantic feelings for. They're not canonly a ship yet. We'll see. And she's walking toward this town that they agreed to meet at in the dark, holding a lantern. And Xavier, that's the big bad evil guy's name, is like, "Do you want to see her again?" And she starts taunting him and shit, kind of like Juliet. I'm like, "Ooh, is this how you feel?" Because I kind of hurt her a little bit. And she was like, okay, what? I'm like, man.
I'm glad you understand now.
Oh no, I completely do, but I still continue to do it.
Yeah. I'm like, it's one of those things where I just kind of feel bad as a DM because, like, of course this makes sense for your character, but also it makes sense for the bad guys then to immediately hurt you if you do these things.
Wow, you're gonna flip off this character? Yep, okay, well, they're gonna smack you. Okay. Yeah. I know what I'm doing. I just think it's funny.
Okay.
But anyway, so he basically was like, you need to get her out of the party. And she's like, why? Don't ask questions or she dies. And that was it. And that's kind of where we ended it a little bit. And they were like, what the fuck? And I was like, heh. I made them cry the session before that.
Yeah.
Every single one of them cried.
That's the dream.
Yeah. So I have an end goal for them. It's just where they go from the story, like each session, is how I plan out the next session. Because if they still want to be in this town, Clearwater town that they're in, before going on to another town, then I'm gonna plan out a little bit more stuff like NPCs, little side quests they can do before they leave, if that's what they want to do. Like, they're pretty good at telling me what they want to do too, and I kind of steer them in the right path as best I can. But sometimes, yeah, I want to turn into a shark and swim up the water elemental. Okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So it really just depends on what they do and how I can immerse their characters even more in tragedy. Not all the time tragedy. Like, they got to see like a rat father. That was nice. They got to meet death. That was cool. But like, long story. Like, I wish there was like a quote, like a book I could make, like out of context D&D quotes. Like,
yeah.
I need to go wet myself. That's the quote.
Yep. I turned myself into a lighthouse. Oh my god.
I turned myself into a lighthouse.
Yeah,
oh my god.
We're gonna have real fun talking about the most recent arc.
Oh my god, that was so fucked up, but it was so good. So good.
Just a little teaser of what's to come up ahead. I basically decided I fucking love Eldritch Horror so goddamn much, and that's such a bad thing for you guys as players. But I basically made this like horrible like Eldritch Horror atmosphere where you guys had to go through, and as I was doing it, one player, I gave them a little bit of leeway with this one tiny thing, and they described a better Eldritch Horror scenario than anything I had planned. And
oh my gosh.
I'm infinitely mad because that was the scariest thing I've ever seen, and it wasn't because of my stupid writing.
Literally, so
oh my god.
Out of context of the Phoenix art, we are all artists except for Shivam.
Yes.
So we create so many like amazing things, and then there's the things that haunt my dreams. There's
every time I close my eyes.
Time I close my eyes, I think of pancake acid.
That and
11-foot tall hops, like.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Well, that's just a bit of a spoiler for things to come up, but
so many.
Yeah,
good
so. And segueing, I believe, to the end here. So if you guys want to eventually hear that the Lighthouse Hop story, make sure to stay tuned. If you want us to help us keep making this content, we have a Patreon, link in the description if you're on YouTube. But yeah, thank you so much for listening to another episode of PhoenixChat.
Yeah! PhoenixChat.